So today I want to talk about flushing, what it is, how it works, what it does for your plants, and what it does for your wallet. We are going to hop right into it, but first, if you are new here, don't forget to hit the subscribe button down below to get notifications on every time I upload. If you want to grow quality plants, you want to grow high yielding plants, you want tips on how to set up an environment, go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below and ring the bell. I would truly appreciate it. But without further ado, let's hop right into our topic. What does flushing really do for your plants, and what is the practice really? So first off, I want to mention there is a difference between flushing your plants and leaching your plants, and I'll explain that real quick before we really hop into it. Flushing is throwing a bunch of water into your growing medium and really flushing out the parts per million that are left over in your growing medium, preferably with 0 ppm water, which would normally be reverse osmosis water, which we've talked about in another video I'll put down below. But as low as a ppm as you can possibly get and as pure water as you can possibly get is going to be optimal for the flushing process. And that is doing, a lot of people do 3 times the gallons of water by the pot. So for example, if you have a 5-gallon pot, you do 15 gallons of water in a flushing session. Important thing to remember about the cannabis plant when you're growing it is it's an annual plant, which means it grows once per year, reproduces, and then dies. So it goes through a process called senescence towards the end of its grow, and it's very important to understand the process of senescence before you start feeding your plants at the end of flower. So feeding your plant at the end of flower could bring out something in the plant that wouldn't be there if you didn't, but it is very easy to over fertilize, which is going to procrastinate the process of senescence and cause your plant to potentially overgrow, or at the very least stay green throughout the senescence process. And what this will actually do for organic growers and synthetic growers alike is the process is actually going to save you money if you go through the flushing process. Now, it's different for organic growers than it is for synthetic growers, and so I'm briefly going to go over the organic flushing process, which has been explained more deeply by Mr. Canucks. I definitely recommend you check out his channel, but it's different for organics than it is synthetic. So organic flushing is doing a top dress. It's basically your final top dress and then letting the amendments go from there. And the way Mr. Canuck grows does his flushing process is he will do a top dressing at the 4th week of flower, and then he will let the plant grow from there. And I'm sure that process will be different cultivar to cultivar. If he knows the genetics and knows it has a longer flower period, I'm sure he adjusts from there, but I'm not exactly an organics expert. So the way synthetics do it is they will just completely cut off feeding nutrients. Since it's a more instant feed, you will have to feed for more weeks. So let's say that the plant starts to develop really quickly, and then you get some amber trichomes. That's going to be when you start the flushing process. In the gist of things, the synthetic flush is actually going to be the beginning of the harvesting process, since you're doing it when the plant is ripe and done. That is kind of how it works. Now, what is it actually going to do for the grower? Well, since you're not over fertilizing and feeding to the very last moment throughout its senescence when it naturally stops taking up as much nutrients, you're not going to overfeed it and keep it green through senescence, and you're actually going to save yourself money. Through that 2-week stretch of time, you essentially save 14 days worth of nutrients that otherwise would have been wasted anyway. And if you want to reuse the soil or peat moss that you were using for that synthetic grow, you very much can, as long as you go through the flushing process and there's nothing left in the growing medium that you don't want there. So really, in essence, it seems like there's a good place for flushing but I can also see why people wouldn't do it. If they do have those numbers dialed in and they've been growing the same cultivar for a very long time, and they can go through senescence at the same time as not overfeeding to push those colors back. So I hope this video helped you guys understand a little bit more about the flushing process. I hope you guys can save a little bit more money while creating quality cannabis, and I will see you guys next time. Thank you very much.